Oh, hello. Hello, if you've been here before, welcome back. If not, hi, my name is David. I make videos talking about media that I want to talk about. This is the Travel Around the World book tag created by Cliff's Dark Gems, and I was tagged to do this tag by Nicole over at Nicole's Bookish Nook. Thank you so much for tagging me. Again, because we're going a little thematic here, I got my travel backpack, and I did fill this with books. Why? Themes? Motifs? We're going around the world. Prompt 1, UK and Republic of Ireland. Known for history, culture, arts, and literature, talk about an older book slash classic that you have read and loved. So, for that, I was trying to look for a book that was published a long time ago, quote unquote, and a book that I have not talked about that much on this channel. I haven't talked much about this book mainly because I read this in high school, and I don't quite remember much of it, but I do remember absolutely enjoying it. This was published in 1952. Backpack is hurting my back. There it is. Published in 1952. It's not the oldest book that I have. I believe the oldest book I have is Dante's Inferno. 13 something is when it was published or written. But I definitely remember reading East of Eden in high school and really liking what it was. And during like high school, it's like I'm busy a lot, and so I can't like read as much as I'm reading right now. And so I remember this taking me like ages to read, but I was like, absolutely enjoying every single moment of it. And also, I guess because this is the UK topic or prompt, that's it. I was like, hey, Americana, this is a classic Americana novel set in the rich farmland of California's Salinas Valley. This sprawling and often brutal novel follows the intertwined destinies of two families, the Trasks and Hamiltons, whose generations helplessly reenact the fall of Adam and Eve and the poisonous rivalry of Cain and Abel. I know that there's a movie coming out sometime, or sorry, a show coming out sometime soon that's an adaptation of this book, and I did toy with, maybe I should reread this book to be able to watch that show. I'm not going to watch the show right now. I'm not going to reread this right now, but definitely when I get to the point where I want to start rereading books that I've not touched in a long time, this will be one of them because I remember liking it a lot. But yeah. Next we have Australia. Beautiful country with wildlife found nowhere else on Earth. Talk about a book that has an original and unique premise. There's a lot of books that I could say have a unique and original premise. For that, I'm going to talk about The Power. The Power by Naomi Alderman. I think this prompt wants me to talk about something kooky and wacky and very out there, but I don't tend to like reading those types of stories, but this is definitely one of the most interesting concepts I've seen, which is about our world, all of a sudden, women have the power to, with a flick of the fingers, they can inflict terrible pain and even death. And it talks about what happens to our world when women who have been historically subjugated against by men have the power to defend themselves. And I think this is a beautiful, captivating novel. It's been a hot minute since I read it, but I absolutely loved it. And it's presented as a thesis, a research thesis, and so, or it's journalism or something like that. I think it's journalism thesis, maybe actually. No, yeah, it's written as a journalist type novel because it's like reporting on the real world, quote unquote, and what happens when women have the power. Next prompt is New Zealand, a land of breathtaking beauty. Talk about a book, fiction or nonfiction, where the setting, real or imagined, is so stunning that you want to live there. A lot of great contenders for this, but for me, a recent fantasy setting that absolutely captivated me in its depictions, descriptions, was a setting in The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. This is about two warriors shepherding an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family. And the fantasy world is absolutely beautiful. Let me pull up a map. This map is barely a map, but it's a map nonetheless. And it's absolutely beautifully written. Beautiful. It's stunning, and I just adore the fantasy, and the setting is just amazing. There's many good settings. But like I was like when I first saw that prompt, and I was like a really interesting setting. I was like, okay, I was going to say Sunrise on Reaping because, you know, very beautiful, like actually very beautiful. But then it said, you want to live there? I don't know if I want to live there. But I don't know if I want to live here either. But still really beautiful that if I find myself in this location, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm here. Let me find some power. You know what I mean? Next, we have France, Paris, the city of love. Talk about a book that you enjoyed where a love story is either central to the plot or just present in the story. It doesn't have to be romantic or erotic. The book that I chose is a book that I've talked about many times, but I just cannot stop coming back to it. And it is There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole, specifically just the entire trilogy, the Age of Darkness trilogy. And this book series is about 5 people in this fantasy world. There's 5 people in this fantasy world who are each portents of a apocalypse, and they try to stop this apocalypse from happening. 2 of them have this romantic gay relationship, and we have Anton, who is he's like the chosen one. He's like the last prophet in this fantasy world, and he doesn't quite know it because he is an orphan, and he's just sort of doing stuff. He's a reckless gambler with the power to find anything or anyone. There's different types of magic in this world. And then we have Jude, who is a paladin of the Order, who is bound to protect the coming prophet. And they find each other, and it becomes this sort of like bodyguard romance, and I really like that trope of romance that I have not seen that much in some places, but this is definitely one of my best examples of a bodyguard romance, more in the second and third book, honestly, but definitely starts in this first book. So, and I've talked about this is one of my favorite fantasy series. I also need to reread this. One of my absolute favorite fantasy series of all time, and so I always come back to Jude and Anton so much. Next prompt, Germany. Octoberfest, the world's largest beer festival. Name and talk about a book where wild celebrations and crazy parties are part of the storyline. Now, this one was a little hard for me to find. I was looking at, okay, what is a book that I like that has like a party aspect to it? You know what I mean? I eventually settled on Beholder by Ryan LaSala. Beholder is the second Ryan LaSala horror book that I've read, and it's about Ethan in New York City. The story starts with him at a party that goes awry, and a bunch of people kill themselves or are killed by other people as well because of some mysterious force, and he has to figure out what is happening and why he's the only survivor in this area, in this party. And the rest of the story doesn't include parties, but it starts with this one party, and so that's why I chose this one. Nicole, in her video, her choice for this prompt was The Great Gatsby. I was like, that's a great choice. But then I was like, okay, I could also do Local Heavens, KM Fajardo, but I've already talked about Local Heavens a lot. So, and here it is. Here's me again talking about Local Heavens. I wanted to talk about a different book, and so Beholder is one that I've read recently. Ryan LaSala, love Ryan LaSala, and so this starts with a party. It fits. Next prompt, Mexico, tourism and beaches. Name and talk about a book set in a coast or an island. A recent book that I read is Starter Villain by John Scalzi. There it is. And I chose this because I'm trying to look for other coasts or islands, and there's a handful, but it's like they go to a coast briefly and then go back into the inlands, or I don't remember exactly where it is. A lot of ones I looked at were like, oh, it's set in a mountain or a high location. Like, okay, I guess. Anyways, Starter Villain, it's about a guy, Charlie, whose uncle dies, and he inherits his uncle's villain business, and it is the headquarters is an island. It's literally a volcanic island that the headquarters is at. So he goes there, and that's an island. So that fits for this prompt. I did like this book. I was surprised with how much I liked it, and I really liked the world building and the thought put into the concepts of this book, and so I was really happy with it. Next prompt, Italy, cuisine, fine food and wine. Talk about a book fiction or nonfiction where food and or drink is central to the plot. Also kind of difficult for me to find. I will say the first option that I immediately thought of was like, okay, a fantasy world where like the conflict is about food. There's got to be some that I've read. I couldn't find any. The only one I thought of was like the Poppy War, R.F. Kuang, but that's like opium, not exactly that. And so I was like, okay, what else? And so I looked at The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, sorry. And I was like, you know what? This is funny because this is about a fictional medieval-esque castle under siege where one of the main characters was able to save the castle, that cannot have other resources come in because they are under siege, save them from dehydration. She was able to clean the water so they have ample water. However, she has not yet been able at the start of the book to find a way to give them food. And so they are starving. And so a lot of this is surrounding trying to get food, cannibalism, and really horrifying stuff. I enjoyed this book recently. I feel like I didn't understand about 25% of it, and I feel like I want to reread it at some point. However, I was a little disappointed with it. I don't think it went as far as it should have. But either way, cannibalism, food, Next prompt, Austria. Alpine landscapes, ski, snowboarding. Talk about a book where a sport/contest, real or imagined, is a central focus of the story. Also pretty hard because I don't like sports things. I don't like sports really. But one book that does feature a competition is, let me pull it out. Get out. Mask of Shadows by Lindsay Miller. This is the first book of a duology that I read early college that I need to revisit as well, but it is about Sal, who is a gender-fluid thief, who finds out that there is an audition to become a member of the Left Hand, the Queen's personal assassins, and they enter this competition to be an assassin for the Queen. I relate this to Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, but I do not want to read it. I unfortunately did read Throne of Glass series when it first came out, but I don't have it anymore because why would I have any Sarah J. Maas books? This is the next best thing. This is gender fluid, queer. The romance here is really nice as well, and I think there's some magic system here that I think like the gender fluidness is really some form of magic as well. I don't quite remember, but I do remember really liking Sal and their attempts to be an assassin in the competition itself. Really fun. Next prompt, South Africa, The Rainbow Nation. Talk about a book from a diverse author you have enjoyed, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, etc. For like, I chose one book, but I'm like, okay, I could talk about others. Sexual orientation, I am gay. Another lesbian book, maybe. Is Tamsin Muir a lesbian? We have Gideon the Ninth, obviously. And then gender, a woman or a non-binary author. City of Dusk by Tara Sim, really good fantasy series. Ethnicity, I guess I'm Hispanic, so someone who is Asian. Or well, that's race, isn't it? I'm Hispanic, so I was just like a white person? Sure. I don't know, Shakespeare? I have Hamlet here. Ta-da. I did race, and I chose Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, which is a short story collection that I had read in college, absolutely adored. And it's multiple different short stories depicting aspects of Black identity. By placing ordinary characters in extraordinary situations, Adjei-Brenyah reveals the violence, injustice, and painful absurdities that Black men and women contend with every day in this country. Really good short story collection. I really want to revisit it and talk about it a bit more because these were just so good and so compelling and some of the best short fiction that I've ever read. Next prompt, bonus prompt, where do you live? Country/state. Choose and talk about a book that reflects the culture/history and anything else of your home. I mean, it's in my name. I'm in Orlando. I live in Orlando. I've lived in Florida for most of my entire life, mostly in Tampa. Now I'm in Orlando. And there might be some really famous books set in Florida, but a book that I read within the last year that I was surprised about was A Season of Light by Julie Irumuanya. This is about a Nigerian family who has moved to Florida, and the father has a psychotic break where he believes that his daughter is his sister who disappeared during the Nigerian Civil War, and he locks her in her room to make sure she doesn't disappear like his sister did. And I got this from Book of the Month. It was the first Book of the Month pick that I saw. And I didn't know quite how Book of the Month worked. And so I just saw the options there and saw like this was just labeled as a fiction, I think, or something like that. I could not see the description of the book, and I didn't know how to find that. And so it looked interesting. I wanted to read it, so I chose it. When I got it, I was like, oh, it's set in Ikonlokhachi, I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's a little subdivision, quote unquote, in Orlando. Like it's right next door. It's literally right next door. I think it's between, and it's close to UCF. I know that as well. And I used to go to UCF. And so it's set in Orlando. And there are some times where I talked about a location. I was like, oh, yeah, I know that location. I've been there. Ikonlokhachi. I can only say it correctly when I see the word. And so surprisingly, this is set in Orlando, where I've been living for the past few years. And so this is what I'm going to choose to talk about for this prompt. So it's not entirely my culture, but it is in Orlando. And I recognize some locations, so I was like, that's really fun that I didn't realize that this was in Orlando when I chose it from Book of the Month. And yeah, that was all the prompts. I have emptied my bag, so I can now just set it free. And I am now back home, I guess, in terms of, doing the prompt, going around the world, whatever. Thank you so much again to Nicole over at Nicole's Bookish Nook for tagging me in this video. And in the description below, I'll also tag some people to do this. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to this tag. I've been busy with other things and vacation and stuff like that. But now I'm doing this tag. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to be passionate. And I'll see you later.